Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Jojo Gonzalez, and I'm just finishing up my morning routine, prayer, worship, getting in the Word. And today we're in Psalm 59. It's another Psalm of David, which is another Psalm about enemies, right? And this one is prayer for rescue from his enemies. And this one is when Saul sent men to watch him at his house. And he's praying, that God would protect him. And he says this. He says, "Deliver me from my enemies, O God. Set me securely in an excessively high place away from those who would rise up against me." Now, I always ask God, man, set me apart, secure me, protect me from those things, that turn my eye, turn my flesh, the lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, pride of life. Keep me safe from those things, you know. And it's a little bit different, but it's the same thing. That's what we have right now. Whether you have, personal enemies, those things, those temptations that are going against you, whatever it is, man, set me securely in an inaccessible high place away from those things, right? That would rise up against him. So that's when I read that, that's what I think of. And then it says, "Deliver me from those who practice wrongdoing and save me from the bloodthirsty men." Then he goes on for like a while. He says, "Look, man, they lie in wait for me. They're fierce and powerful men, about to launch an attack, not for wrongdoing or any sin of mine, oh Lord, just because they don't like me, whatever it is. They run and they set themselves against me, and there's no guilt in me." He says, "Stir yourself to meet and help me and see what they're doing." Right? And so he's still like reaching out to God. He says, "You, O Lord, God of hosts, the God of Israel, arise to punish all nations." He says, "Spare no one, and do not be merciful to any of those who treacherously plot evil," specifically against him, I'm sure. "And they return at evening. They howl like snarling dogs. They go and they prowl around the city." He says, "Look how they belch out insults and sins from their mouth." And he says, "Swords, sarcasm, ridicule, slander, lies are in their lips. For they say, 'Who hears us?'" Right? They think no one's listening. God's not listening, but God's always listening. He says, "But you, O Lord, will laugh at them in scorn. You scoff at and deride all nations." He says, "O God, my strength, I watch for you." Right? And so he's always watching for God. He's like, "Please come." Right? That's where he's at right now. He's like, "Man, God, I need you." And then he says, "For God is my stronghold." He says, my refuge, my protector, my high tower, that place that he wants to be at, that place he wants to like be separated and set apart. Then he says this. He says, "My God in his steadfast loving kindness will meet me." 100%. He knows God is going to meet him there, without a doubt. And I'm the same way. I'm like, "God, I know you're going to bring me through this, whatever it is. Like, God's going to, on the other side, I'm going to be able to turn around and see God's hands working, because I've seen it time and time again." I questioned, so many things that have gone on in our life, just, so many things, man. And I kind of turn back and I look at God working. I see his hand in all of them, whether he's working on me, my character, the family, whatever it is, he's testing, all the time, but he's also teaching us, molding us and shaping us, man. So I can see it too. Now I'm glad David sees it as well. Then he says, "Do not kill them. Do not kill them, or my people will forget. Scatter them," he says, "and make them wander endlessly back and forth." Right? "Let them live. Let them be an example." He says, "Your power, and bring them down. O Lord, our shield, for the sin of their mouth and the words of their lips, let them be trapped in their pride." Right? And that's one of those things, that lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, pride of life. For whatever they're saying, man, let them be trapped in their pride. He says, "And on account of the curses and lies which they tell, destroy them in wrath, destroy them so that they may be no more. Let them know that God rules over Jacob." Right? So maybe he changed his mind. He's like, "Nah, you know what, man, just destroy him." And he says, "To the ends of the earth." And he says, "They return at evening, they howl and snarl like dogs," which he said twice. He said it again. He says, "And go prowling around the city. They wander around for food to devour and growl at night as if they're not satisfied." He says, "But as for me," right? He said, "Those guys, they're like dogs, man. They're always snarling, they're always growling, they're never satisfied." But he says, "As for me, I will sing of your mighty strength and power. For you have been my stronghold and a refuge in the day of my distress." He's freaking out. People are outside watching him, checking out his every move, man. They want to kill him. He already knows about it, and he's just like, "Man, I need that protection. I need that." I couldn't even imagine how he sleeps, and just like all the stress, pressure, anxiety he's going through. And he says, but as for me, I will. He says, I'm gonna lay down, right? He says, but as for me, I will sing of your strength and power. Yes, I will sing joyfully of your loving kindness in the morning, for you have been my stronghold and a refuge in the day of my distress. To you, O God, my strength, I will sing praises, for God is my stronghold, my refuge, my protector, my high tower, the God who shows me steadfast loving kindness. Hands down. All that is for that. God's steadfast loving kindness. God is thinking about you. He knows the situation you're in. He knows exactly where you are. I've said it to you a few times. You're not lost. God didn't just drop you somewhere in a stream and just forget about you. So, well, I can't find him anymore. Let's move on. No. God knows exactly where you are. He knows the situation that you're in. He knows what you're up against. Let this word permeate into you and let it change you. Know God, and let God know you. Love God and be faithful and true to his word like you love him. Be faithful to him. And God is so good. He's always watching out for us, even when we're not. So he's worthy. He's worthy of all these things, man. And I'm glad that David paints him in this way, that he is our stronghold. He is our strong tower. He's our mighty protector. And I love that, man. So that's my prayer today. God, protect me from these things. Pull me out of all that muck and mire, and set me apart. That way I'm not affected by those things. So a good mindset to leave the house with. So God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Think about these things as you go about your day. God bless.